I'd like to talk to you today why it's best that we do our utmost to avoid carbohydrates. Easy to say, I know, I've been there and done this, but I'll give you the reasons why we should do that in this short video. My name is Graham Keegan, and I want you to talk today about the issue of carbohydrates and why they're not healthy for us at all, and then what we should be eating instead. I've been through this myself. I've had overweight, I had type 2 diabetes, but I got myself into remission and I'm back in my target BMI range. So I know what to do, and hopefully I can help you do the same. This is a bit of background to all this. Humans have walked this planet for about 250,000 years, maybe 300,000 years. And for the vast bulk of that time, apart from the last 30 or 40 years, we've lived off diets which are high in fats and proteins. Very little in the way of carbohydrate, apart from when some fruits been in season or also root vegetables. But the vast bulk of it has been fats and protein. Today, though, we eat a lot of carbohydrate. And then this is accentuated by the fact we do very little exercise. Our prehistoric ancestors were just the opposite. In fact, not only were they very active the whole time, but they were probably in a metabolic state which is described as being in ketosis. Now, we don't have time to go into that today, but they were in very good nick. They're very healthy. Carbohydrates, as I'm sure some will be aware, is basically a type of sugar, and it causes us to put on weight. And the result is that we have the modern disease, which can be called sugar disease, which is diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is very different. We're talking about type 2 diabetes today. And some 50% of adults in the United States actually suffer from type 2 diabetes. They're either pre-diabetic or diabetic. And a further 15% or so are actually insulin resistant, which is they're on the way to being diabetic. Europe will be much the same, and the rest of the world is catching us all up fast. And as I say, the problem started 40 or 50 years ago when we moved to a much more of a convenience food diet based on carbohydrates. And additives. This is when the problem really started. And also there was some doubtful research done back in the 1950s to say that fat was the problem and carbohydrates was the way forward. This research has been proved wrong. And we can see that from the 50, 60 year experiment we've had with carbohydrates, that it just doesn't work. It makes us unhealthy and makes us overweight and gives us diabetes. So what carbohydrate does is that it increases the amount of glucose in our systems. This is basically releases sugar fast into our blood, and then in response to that, the pancreas releases a hormone called insulin, which has the purpose of trying to actually push that glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cells to reduce the blood sugar. Now, insulin is very effective at doing that, but if it continues to happen, week in, week out, month in, month out, this then causes a problem for our system. We develop pre-diabetic syndrome, and then we become type 2 diabetic as well. So, what insulin's doing is, when we were hunter-gatherers, it's extremely effective and worked perfectly for our lifestyles, but now it's causing us a problem. What it's doing is three things. It signals to the body to store energy, to store this as fat, so it makes us put on weight. It slows the metabolism, and it makes us feel hungry. So you can see from all those three things that if we're eating a lot of food, and we all eat too much food as well, and it's the wrong type of food, a lot of carbohydrate, it's giving us this metabolic problem which so many now suffer from. And so you can see that this process, it drives weight gain from insulin being high, and this disease of type 2 diabetes, regardless of total calorie intake. So thinking that reducing calories, just calories, doesn't work against this situation. So what's crucial here is we actually have to control insulin. Therefore, what do we eat to control insulin? More importantly, what don't we eat to control insulin? So in a very simple way of looking at this, there are three macronutrients. And so that's fats, protein, and carbohydrate. Those are the three. And across those three, I'd say this to you. This is what I found works, and the studies I read works. It says that this is what works as well. And as I say, my own situation, my own experience has been this is the case. We should be eating a diet which is high in natural fats, moderate in protein, and low in carbohydrate, because the body deals differently with these three types of macronutrients, and the fact that it deals them differently is crucial to understanding how to get yourself out of diabetes and also to manage your weight as well. Because what does the body do with them? Well, with fats, importantly, it stores fat as fat. Fat is obviously quite highly calorific, so that needs to be remembered. It has more calories than a carbohydrate does, but it doesn't cause the insulin to spike, and that's crucial. Let me just say that again, it does not cause the insulin to spike. Protein is broken down into amino acids, an important building block for our bodies, and the X is stored as glucose. So it does cause an insulin spike, but quite a moderate one, quite a modest insulin spike. And then finally we come to carbohydrates, and that causes the insulin to spike rapidly and high as well. So what does this mean then? So what we're saying is high fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrate. So that means when we start to talk about types of food, healthy fats, we want to eat plenty of those, oily fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, avocados, nuts, olive oil. Obviously there's fat in meat as well, which is all very healthy for us. We want to eat a moderate amount of protein, so meats, fish and seafood. And then finally we want to eat a low amount of carbohydrate. And the type of carbohydrate we want to eat needs to be the unrefined carbohydrate. This has what's a low GI, so it releases the sugar into the system quite slowly. So we mean by this proper wholemeal breads, if you're going to have to eat these. Remember, there's still sugar in them, there's loads of sugar in them, but it does actually release the sugar into the bloodstream more slowly. But you want to avoid the refined carbohydrates, the white bread, the white flour, pasta and things like this. That's what you want to avoid. And I'd say this as well, so low in carbohydrate, and then also if you want to lose weight, your diet should be very low in carbohydrate. And if you are diabetic and you want to get into remission, your diet should be very, very low in carbohydrates. So it's quite straightforward what to do. And this is what I've learned. It's very difficult to control weight if you don't have your insulin under control, because insulin is in charge. Insulin runs the show, and weight is, subordinate to what insulin is doing. Because control of insulin means that your weight will then be under control, and your metabolic health will be under control as well. Also, eat plenty of healthy fats. Fats have a very bad reputation, and this goes back to this research which was done in the 1950s and 1960s. I'll do a video about that sometime and tell you all about that. And ever since, we've had this thing about that fats are unhealthy for you, and they give you high cholesterol, and they give you heart disease, and they make you put on weight. This just isn't true. More modern research has shown this just is not true, and fats are very healthy for you. And also, you'll find that so many products in the shops will say this has, I don't know, different types of yogurts or mayonnaises or whatever, low in fat or whatever. And the reason is they're saying that is because they know that people have this thing about fat, mistakenly so, and therefore they take out the fat out of these products, charge you more for them, and guess what they put in? Sugar. That's what goes into these things. So these low fat versions, light versions are things to be avoided. I look at it this way, eat natural foods, and you know they're natural foods because they don't need labels. That's the important thing. You know, a piece of salmon doesn't need a label. A piece of beef doesn't need a label. Some nice strawberries or something don't need labels on them because there's no ingredients to tell you about. There's not a list of things in there, chemicals even, that you don't recognise. They don't need labels. So that's a good indication. In fact, it's a good alarm system for you to know that if a product has a label on it, it's something you need to read the label and decide that's really what you want to be buying and to be eating. You know, as I say, a tin of sardines doesn't have a label, but a packet of donuts does. So we've been through the macronutrients: high fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrate. Another way of looking at it, just so it's very straightforward and something we can all remember, is that there are 3 foods I think we should be doing our best to avoid. And that's, the first one is grains in all their shapes and sizes and forms, and particularly for me, it's wheat to avoid. The second one is sugar, so sugar in cakes and biscuits and whatever, avoid the sugar. And thirdly, potato, because that's full of starch. Shame, I like all 3 of those, but you know, those are the 3 things we should be avoiding. And if you do your very best to avoid those, the amount of carbohydrate you're taking in, the amount of you're causing the glucose to increase in your bloodstream, therefore your insulin spike will go down considerably. Okay, now I've got a 6-page PDF detailing everything you should and should not be eating if you are diabetic. It's free and it's in my YouTube. No, it's not. It's in my Facebook profile. And so I'll put a link to that below. Please, you're more than welcome to get that and download that. I hope you'll find that useful. And let me say one more thing to you, that every Monday I have a live event. We cover a different subject every week. And that is at 6 p.m. UK time. No need to register. Again, just turn up and participate, ask questions. It goes on for about 30 minutes. So that's on YouTube, 6 p.m. UK time. Again, I'll put a link to that below this video. I wish you good health. Talk again soon.